Welcome to Deadbolt Live. If you're here with us right now, congratulations. You made a great life choice. The chat is open, so fire away with any of your questions for our guest. If you're listening to the recording, well, you missed out. Live is where the magic happens. We do everything. We do this live every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Central. So mark your calendar, set an alarm, train your dog to remind you. Whatever it takes to get here live, so you can join the party. But first, a little message for our sponsor. Deadbolt Society is proudly sponsored by Bowman Vision Media, offering high voltage marketing for low voltage companies, which is just a fancy way of saying they make security business look amazing. From social media to video to digital marketing, digital advertising, Bowman Vision Media has your back. Check them out at bowmanvisionmedia.com or swing by our Deadbolt sponsor space for more details. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get to the real reason everybody's here. We've got the one and only Chad Cooper with us today. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you started in the security industry and how your career progressed and to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Dominic, first off, thank you very much for having me on Deadbolt Society. It's a great opportunity, and I'm glad to be here. So I started off basically right out of high school. I got a job with a locksmith company, and that locksmith we were doing the regular, car openings and house openings, and then we would repair houses that were broken into. And as he was repairing houses, he also was being asked about alarm systems. And this is going back into the age of, taking out the EEPROM and putting it in an EEPROM burner and burning it, and then taking it out and putting it back in the panel. That's how you had to program it, right? Wow. So this is going back a long ways. But then I got to really know the distribution house that we were buying from, and they offered me a job with benefits and stuff to come and work the front counter. And so I really started that way, and my technical expertise in computers and stuff just kind of brought me right into the fold of the industry, and started gaining some respect of the local integrators and helping them out and teaching them how to really use closed circuit video, and because it was relatively new back then.
Awesome.
And then that just kind of progressed into an outside sales job for a access control company called Northern Video. And as it just, the career progressed and moved along, I ended up in an A&E role for Pelco.
Okay.
And then after 8 years of being there, I moved over to a Vigilon, still an A&E role, and a Vigilon ended up being a purchased by Motorola.
Right. Yep.
Right. And then I worked for about a year at a LiDAR company, and figured out that was a brand new technology. That was a lot of fun for a year. And now I'm here at Verkada.
Right on. Yeah, that's pretty impressive career. So you've been involved with the cameras side of things for quite a while.
Yeah.
How are you fitting in with your new role at Verkada?
This role is awesome. I mean, I have the western half of North America, so it's a very large territory from Alberta down through Colorado and New Mexico and all the way to Hawaii. So there's a lot of specifiers, there's a lot of architects, engineers, and a lot of consultants in my territory. And I've known them all for a lot of years, so it's kind of fun.
And so your role itself is the A&E Business Development, correct?
That's correct. So I'm basically a consultant to consultants, right? The whole thing is more of a term that was coined to me by Mike Howard, was revenue by influence. So I've always thought that influencing people to create sales or to create to help them,
Mhm.
with a solution is the key to that whole part of our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Coming to the consultant side, I was reached out. I didn't even know that this field existed until I got to be a consultant. Um, but yeah, it seems like it's an important thing to most companies should have is that, a little bit more knowledgeable person on your, business development side to be able to talk to consultants who most of the time know what they're talking about. And so it's important to have, the consultants have that level of respect for who they're talking to. So yeah, like you coming on board for Verkada, it puts a little level of respect on, what you got going on.
I think it really does open up a lot of doors to be able to help those consultants, because the consultants are really influencing those end users, right?
Yeah.
They don't purchase any equipment themselves, so it's not really a sales role. So you don't want to get overly sales and PowerPoint and that type of a pitch to
Right.
the consultant. You're there to really help them, walk them through any documentation that they're going to need, and any feature set issues, things like that, to be able to make sure that the end user is getting what the end user really needs and wants out of their
Hmm.
system, to really create that solution effect. And here at Verkada, the single platform that we're able to sell from a hybrid cloud perspective, it's a great way of dealing with all those solutions.
Mm, yeah. Uh, why don't you explain a little bit the A&E representation for security manufacturer? How does that move a company forward, like Verkada? I know we
Yeah,
kind of explained a little bit, but you can
yeah.
go
So
deeper on that.
a lot of the channel people in our industry, they're dealing directly with the system integrators. They're dealing directly with maybe with end users, but the tip of the spear of the job is an end user that goes to an architect and says, I need a brand new building. Okay, the architect is saying, okay, the walls are going to be curved this way, and the
Mhm.
doors are going to be, kind of look like this, and it's going to be this color and this kind of carpet and all of this. And then they're going to hire a mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineering firms to be able to
Mhm.
come in and help them with all the guts of the building to make the building work and live. And that's where, I spend most of my time is with an electrical engineer or a consultant that is doing all the guts of the building prior to the job even coming out on specification. So the build cycles, or the sales cycle, should we say, is extremely long, right?
Mm.
You're looking at, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on jobs that
Years.
it's taken me 4 years to get to the point of a
Hmm.
job actually coming to 100% completion and a bidding cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know firsthand that one. Sometimes it takes 2 years just to design a building, and then you got bidding and permitting, and just to get to groundbreaking is pretty long process.
Yeah, the financing side of building a greenfield job like that is extremely long. And so we
Hmm.
have to have a long sense of understanding of that to be able to, you know, go all the way through. But being in there and talking the end user and talking the consultant through all the problems that, um, that you're solving, ends up being that you are specified a lot closer to what they want. And so when the bid comes out, you're hoping that it's a hard specification of
Yeah.
whatever company you're working for, right? And there's all
Yeah.
sorts of people that are trying for the same thing. So there's the electrical side of, you know, light switches and the low voltage lighting to, AV equipment and everything else, trying to do the same basic thing. So you have to
Hmm.
understand that the consultant and the engineering groups are, they're being hammered on by a lot of manufacturers. You gotta give them space.
Yeah. I'm curious, in your A&E experience, do you talk mostly with security consultants, or do you actually talk to MEP firms and architects as well?
Oh, I talk to MEP firms and architects as well. I mean,
Okay.
there's only so many true security consultants out there, right?
Yeah.
Most of
That's
them,
correct. Yeah.
most of the people that I deal with are electrical engineers than they are true consultants. Most
Mhm.
of the consultants are doing risk assessments and things of that nature, and then they'll throw in equipment suggestions, but they won't get down sometimes to the point of drawings and all of the things that they do. Some do for sure, but we handle all three of those segments.
Okay. And then what are some of the services that you provide as the Verkada A&E?
Yeah, so we help them through the Division 28 spec writing, for the low voltage and life safety part of the buildings. We help them with Revit BIM
Mm,
drawings. We help them with AutoCAD and Bluebeam. Anything that they need as a tool to make it kind of an easy button to get it specified is the way I look at it.
Have you looked into the Revit tool? I'm kind of curious on that one. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've had, BIMs made for Revit quite
mhm.
often.
And so the tool, is it like a 3D element and you place it
Yeah, sorry.
on
Yeah,
plans and
Revit is like an AutoCAD program that's a 3D all inclusive model that goes across
yeah,
different divisions, right? And so you have some people that are working in the background doing plumbing, some that are doing electrical work, some that are low voltage work, and if they cross paths on the building in 3 dimensions, it gives collision alerts. And so
right.
somebody has to move their own conduit somewhere, or put that exit sign, or that camera away from where the exit sign has to go. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of rules that take place. It's a very complicated and involved program for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a data center project where we're basically doing that, where there's 2 meetings a week where we're getting on a phone call and looking at the 3D model and checking all the pipes and conduits, making sure nothing's clashing. And there's always a camera over a light fixture somehow, or an exit sign. But
Or
yeah,
a
so
pillar's in the way, because it shows
mhm,
you, it shows you what's going on. But yeah, we have all those BIM models already made up and ready to go for all of our different models of cameras and devices that go into the building.
that's cool. Does it show anything field of view wise, or is it just a 3D model?
No, it shows the field of view. So that's the
Nice.
one thing about Revit is that you're able to, look at the field of view, and it takes you inside the view of the actual camera to be able to see if, that pillar is in the way, or that corner of the building is, can we move the camera 5 feet one way and see more down the hall? Whatever you want to do on that side.
That's cool. I would love to check that out and play with it. Is that something just for consultants, or is it kind of open to whoever wants it?
Right now we have ours to where it's for consultants and architects and engineers.
Okay. We do have a question in the chat. Josh Bowman just popped it up. Back when I started selling cloud in 2018, A&E saw it was a service to plan, but was handled by client IT. Were they getting more involved now in specifying and recommending SaaS security solutions? I don't know. I might
So
have butchered that question, but
that's okay. Yeah, I think what he's saying is that when the cloud started out, it was all IT. So A&Es really didn't get involved in the IT
mm,
side of that business, because that was more of a service, security as a service type of sale. And now it's kind of flipping backwards, because like here at Verkada uh, we have the hardware and the software. So it's all managed in the cloud, but we still have hardware to sell and to install into the building structure itself. So there is a shift away from the client IT side, and it's shifting back to the A&Es and the security directors and all of that.
cool. Um, I That's a great answer. And then I saw Bear's question in there. I do want to put out for the live audience. We did talk beforehand. There's some things that he may or may not be able to answer. So I'm going to ask Bear's question. Just let us know if that's something that you can answer or not,
Sure.
with the, limitations that you have. But what are some of the camera integrations that Verkada is developing and perfecting currently?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking at, the pillars of security being around cameras, being around, our cameras, the access control platform, the intrusion platform, all being integrated into one seamless platform from the ground up, from a cloud perspective. So, and then adding on top of that, intercoms, gateways, the mail room, guest badging, all of that. So there's a lot of things that are integrated in, with the cameras, along with the access control and the intrusion and everything.
I hope that answered your question, Bear. I know when I first heard about Verkada, it was almost like a bad word in the integrator side, and I know you've probably experienced some of that. What are some things that you think, now that you're on the other side of the fence here, not the fence, but now that you're inside, what are some things you can tell us that kind of ease, some people's concerns about Verkada and how they handle things?
Well, I think like any company that's really starting out, I mean, there are, hiccups in the plan. And Verkada being a sales organization first and foremost, I think that they're an aggressive company, and but they're also a new technology, and it's a disruptive technology. So I think a lot of the other things that came down were a little bit biased in that sense, that other companies can't do what Verkada does.
Yeah. Well, I know they definitely they started with that cloud platform, and I feel like they made everybody, buckle up and get cloud on their platforms, right? Because everybody was eating up cloud, and all of a sudden now everybody has cloud, and they were kind of the first ones to bring it out there.
Well, we've had companies in the past that have taken long cycle to get out of a technology and into the newest technology, and in doing so, some of those companies almost died away. And now that there's another new technology out there, I mean, you have to evolve, or your company could go away.
Yeah. I know, back when I was on the integrator side and still as a consultant, there's people that are, on both sides, for, pro, whatever. I've always been pro Verkada. I was able to install a system hardly with any, training. And so that was pretty cool. And I think Verkada really is bringing something to the table that is what the end users are looking for. Because I know that was always a huge pain point of, why do I have to have so many softwares to do the same thing? I just want one thing. And I feel like Verkada's really brought it out there, whether you agree or not with the sales tactics. There was an incident with somebody having a back door. They fixed that. But I've always been pro Verkada. I think it's like, I would say, the Apple of security currently. Everything looks sleek. And it's that new technology. I've even heard people say, calm down. This was a Vigilon 5 years ago, right? So everybody was uproar about a Vigilon because they were all proprietary, and but now they're part of the industry. And so I feel like Verkada, you either get on board or you don't.
Yeah, I think that's a true statement. And when you start to look at having the recording on the cameras instead of having an NVR that's a single point of failure, along with that NVR, if you're going to scale, you have to worry about things like, storage and how many cameras that you can put on the NVR. With Verkada, scaling is a 1-to-1, so you just add another camera. It's
Yeah.
that simple, right? And you can build it out as big as you really need to. It's not, and across the world, and it's all into one platform. And instead of a company going out and purchasing another company and trying to stuff them into a model that they're trying to build as an ecosystem, building the ecosystem from the ground up, I think is a huge advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They definitely have all the chips. Another question from Bear. Verkada is going for more and more funding, and they're getting it. They're securing it. With that, is Verkada pushing into specific markets or verticals in security more than others?
I don't think so. It's always the idea of the platform. It crosses across all those boundaries. We're really pretty good on that side.
So you guys market, advertise, talk to multiple avenues.
Multiple avenues all the time.
What would you say? Let's maybe rephrase that question. I know you've only been there for a little while, but with your experience so far, what verticals are bringing Verkada on more percentage-wise than versus another, like hospitals, health or health, K through 12, higher ed, data center? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, like the industry as an overall, right? I mean, K through 12 is always going to be a pretty well funded, target of all of our industry.
Mm.
So there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, but there's a lot of overhang on just about every industry that you mentioned.
Okay, cool. Does Verkada have anything planned in their roadmap for integrations with other companies in the security industry?
I can't comment on that.
All right. Yeah, I figured that was probably one of those questions. Why don't we move into a little bit more personal stuff? Chad, I don't know if everybody here probably knows your famous hashtag. Why don't you go into that?
So pound CCTV fail. Okay. So how that all started was a good friend of mine and a customer, like yourself is a customer of mine, right? Jason Wright was posting on LinkedIn all of the spaghetti racks, the racks that had all yellow wires all the way down, and they were all over the floor and all of that. And we all thought that was a lot of fun, and to look at that. And I walked out of his office. We had conversations about that and his posting and everything. And I think I had about 1,000 followers at that time. It was not a big deal. And I walked out of his office, and there was a really poorly installed camera that was all rusted and really ugly that was right next to his building. And I took a picture of it and I posted it, and I got a lot of responses. And pretty soon, everywhere that I traveled for work, I was finding more and more and more CCTV fails. So I started the hashtag. I started, a bunch of, little marketing things, and I started to really get a following. And, we look at, what is it, like 7 years later here now? I'm running at about 22,000 followers on LinkedIn, and
wow.
I get a huge response out of just about every picture that I post. I had one that went viral last year, and it was 89,000 impressions.
Holy moly.
So
that's crazy.
I personally get about 1.5 to 1.8 million impressions per year.
Wow. That's impressive. For LinkedIn especially. Yeah. It's hard to get impressions on LinkedIn, it seems, but you figured it, you cracked the code.
Yeah, well, I did do a little bit of research into the algorithm, and I play a lot of those type of games too, and what times I'm posting, and the way that I post it, and the way I respond to posts and things like that. So there's a lot to really kind of understand there, but it's still it's still really nice to be able to have that type of a network behind me.
Yeah. And so do you, I know the answer to this, but I'm just asking for, do you find these pictures? Do you have them sent to you? Are you finding these cameras day to day? How
Yeah,
are you
so
getting all these?
in the beginning, it was all me. I was taking every single picture that I was posting. Then all of a sudden, other people are sending me photos to post. And I think it has to do with the fact that, one, they don't want to take the time to post them. Number two, they know that I post this and I get a bigger audience to the
Mm,
picture. And so I've got a lot of installation companies and people that are installers that are replacing cameras, going out and replacing ones. And when they find really interesting ones, they'll send them to me. They'll message me, DM me the picture, and I will ask them if they want to be included in the post, because some people do and some people don't. And if they do, then I give them a shout out and put the picture out there for them. But I've had pictures sent to me from Turkey, from the UK, from Australia, New Zealand. I mean, all over the world now, people send me
yeah.
pictures. So I still do take pictures on my own as I see them, as in my travels. Sure.
All right. So if you're listening to this, if you have a interesting camera install that looks crazy, send it to Chad, and he'll post it and comment your name, and you'll be famous.
Yeah, come on, bring them on. And then I've also inspired people like Benji Bullock, the
Yep.
door dork,
Yep.
right, to be able to
Mhm.
do door fails. And really, a lot of this is, it is entertainment. It is a good chuckle during your day to be able to see somebody doing, installed something that is just kind of ridiculous. But the bottom line of this, I think, for me, is we're a self-regulated industry in a lot of ways for the installations, and we have to get better. We have to see what we're
Mhm.
doing wrong to be able to get better overall. And that's what I'm hoping that this will happen. And I've got a funny story about that. A very high executive in one of the companies that I work for, he came into the company and he got a camera from the company, went into his garage, mounted it on the side of his garage, put an electrical box on first on the side of his brick house, and it was an indoor electrical box. And then he put his camera on there, and the camera was all twisted, and it was a very poor installation. And
Mhm.
he was a very high executive in this company. And I did not take a picture of it. I wasn't going to poke the bear. And somebody else said, hey, you're going to get on CCTV fail. So the next weekend, he pulled it down, he reinstalled it. It looked beautiful. And he took a picture of it, and he posted it back, and he says, I fixed this problem. It's never going to end up in pound CCTV fail at Chad Cooper. Now, this was a company that had, it was a very large amount of people. And for him to tag me and all of that was a big boost. It
Mm.
was nice to see that I at least helped fix, that
Yeah.
particular install.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, because I know, some seeing bad installs all the time might get a little, dull, but, with the entertainment value, but then, encouraging people to do good installs so they don't end up on bad CCTV fail. That's a good way to spin that. I like it. What would you think about maybe throwing in some good installs in every once in a while? I know those probably don't get very much good traction.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like a lot of other media, right? It's, the good stuff doesn't always get the shock value or any of that. It's I think it's okay to put in great installs if you are the one installing it and
Yeah.
saying, hey, my work is great, I want to show it off. But for me, I try to take it that other way at this point.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love seeing, I just started back on LinkedIn, trying to promote Deadbolt on there, but seeing some good installs on there, and I'm making sure to give them a like, and, a little comment, say, hey, that looks good, to give them morale boost. Because I even know, like, I won't name the platform, but there's a big group on Facebook that does all low voltage, and somebody posts, they're proud of their work and they post on there, and then they get reamed. Like the comments are horrible.
Yeah, flame on, right?
Yeah, we just got to do better at
but I
building
think
people
that
up.
person, I hope that person takes the criticism. And sometimes I know it's a lot harsher than what we'd probably like to do professionally, but take that criticism and change the way they do the next install. And so if they're doing that and they're learning from that, then there's no problem in doing that.
That's true.
As long as it's done professionally. And so whenever I post pictures, I don't show addresses. I don't show companies where they're installed. I'm very cautious of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know you've helped me out a couple times with some pictures I posted on there. You reached out privately, say, hey, that's got some information you probably don't want on the internet. And I appreciate that. So you're always looking out. So yeah, CCTV fail. That's you, the one and only.
Yeah, I do run a website is mrcctvfail.com. So that's where some of the pictures are kind of housed at. I haven't updated in a while, and there's a couple other little tools and things on there that people can download.
Yeah. I'll take this time to remind everybody who has joined, feel free to ask any questions. We're taking questions live in the chat as we go through this. I also wanted to talk about, I don't know if you guys are still doing it, but Unsung Hero. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so Unsung Hero was actually not my idea. I was just a kind of a co-founder on it. And that the founder of that is Clayton Envy out of Envoy out of British Columbia area. And his vision of it, and the reason why I got behind it, is that we think that the security profession doesn't have a spotlight for people that are doing great work and then never getting recognition for it. So part of it is one of the things that I did for the site was a memorials portion of it. So you could enter in people's information that have been working in our industry and then pass away. I've had a lot of good friends in our industry pass as of late also, and really wanted a place to be able to say, hey, these people were part of this industry and made the commitment and spearheaded a lot of what the next generation is going to, laid the foundation for the next generation.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've seen an award recently. Are you guys just taking a break, or?
Yeah, I think it's just in a break mode right now.
Okay.
It's a hard thing for, Clayton run a consulting company full time, and then we all have full time jobs, so this is just a part time deal.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It kind of going from advertising bad installs to promoting good good people in the industry, and
hey, look,
remembering
the
those who
people side of
passed.
our industry are the best.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Even if you're not the greatest installer, everybody in our industry deserves that voice, and that you're making a difference. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Bear has another question. What's the craziest fail you've personally seen in a field?
Craziest fail. I don't know. I just see them all the time of everything. A matter of fact, when I started this out, there were, close personal people to me that were even traveling with me during business times, and they started looking all of a sudden started looking up at cameras, and then they would find fails. Then all of a sudden they're doing it when I'm not around. So now their wife is like, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm look at this camera. Look how bad it is. Now
Uh,
their spouses are now looking at bad cameras. So it's or
it's
at least
funny.
camera installs. So they're all over the place. I mean, I've seen things with 2x4s with mounts to, um, I mean, it's just some things are just absolutely ridiculous.
It's funny you mentioned the wife's thing because mine rolls her eyes all the time. I've done U-turns in traffic to go take a picture of a camera because I'm like, oh, this will be great. I'm gonna send this to Chad. I've done that. I've done that a couple times. Um,
And then she's like,
Ricardo,
Chad. Then she's like,
yeah,
Chad, who?
yeah. Ricardo has a good question as well. Does the industry study failure rates for components and a recommended replacement schedule or upgrade schedule as the technology progresses?
I don't think the industry as a whole does a really good job of failure rates or
Yeah,
replacement times. I think the individual companies, like Verkada, we definitely monitor, any type of failure rates and, our upgrade schedule time for technology progression. I think in the overall scope of our industry is somewhere between 8 and 10 years.
mm,
Or even and then they obviously a lot of cameras and a lot of devices last a lot longer than that, but is then the camera or the device have enough power to handle all of the newest software and firmware upgrades that are taking
right.
place. So once that's that technology refresh time is somewhere in that 8 to 10 years range, I think. How about you? Do you feel that that's the same?
Well, I know in my experience that cameras in particular probably have the highest overturn of any other security technology as far as, they're constantly coming out with new cameras. They're EOLing, cameras that are maybe 3 or 4 years old. And I'm really only talking about that Diamond Company logo one. Mostly, that's the most experience I have with. And that's, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's cameras that last 10 years. I just feel like, you know, if you have a camera that's 10 years old and you're serious about security, and you're not staying up to date with the latest analytics and um, like megapixels and you know you know wide dynamic range technology and compression technology, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Onboard analytics, I think, is probably the biggest change, right, in that last 3 to 4 years. That
Hmm.
if the manufacturer hadn't planned on having edge analytics, if they hadn't planned that cycle to be able to do that, because cameras became or are in some ways, in some companies, a commodity item, right? So
Yeah.
it's the lowest camera, lowest cost, lowest megapixel, and those are the cameras that get cycled out. But if you're purchasing a camera as a as with the onboard analytics and the right power behind it, it should last that 10 years. That
Yeah.
investment, I'd rather pay, like when I buy a laptop or I buy a computer, I don't buy the low end one. I always buy the highest end one because it'll last me the longest.
Hmm. Yeah, you don't want to be constantly replacing things, that's for sure.
Right.
I guess so. When you talk about longevity, yeah, I would say camera's probably a good, 8 to 10 years. Technology is constantly evolving, so if you want to stay up to date with technology, it's going to be hard. As long as those whatever you land on as far as a head end or camera model, that they're compatible still throughout, changing
Well,
out
this is one of the
old
advantages of the
cameras.
cloud, right? The cloud is being updated daily in the
Hmm.
background and you never even know it, and it's being pushed down to the cameras.
Yeah.
You know, instead of
Is rolling a truck out there as an installation to upgrade a network video recorder, it's kind of silly as to why you would do that at this stage of the yeah.
game.
Does Verkada build their cameras to be future proof and have like a percentage of extra, bandwidth
Absolutely.
and storage?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So those upgrades that are pushed through the cloud, it's obviously going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, it's all calculated into the mix.
Kind of like updating your Tesla, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And all of a sudden, my Tesla can drive itself. How did that happen? I don't have a Tesla. I wish I had a Tesla, but we'll get sponsored by Tesla one of these days. If we'll move on from that, I think we answered that one. We got another question from Ricardo. Are there plans for different optical ranges, including thermal, IR, EM sensors built into the platform for analytics by AI OS?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't comment on speculatory, what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah. I know they just came out with a new. You want to talk about what they just came out with, which I think I saw a post a couple weeks ago. What was it? The wireless antenna.
The gateways.
Yeah, the gateways.
So we have two different gateways modules that are Verkada specific. The gateway modules, one is an LTE gateway module. So it has two PoE outputs and and then power input, right? So it has LTE as its service device. And because the recording is on the camera, there's no transmitting of video unless you're pulling live video from the camera or you're pulling an archive type of video. And then so you can power up two different cameras or one PTZ off of the gateway. Then we have another gateway that's a Wi-Fi gateway. So that would be a direct connection to the Wi-Fi within the building, basically doing the same thing. So a couple different ways to gateway into for the Verkada equipment, but it is Verkada specific gateways.
Okay, that's cool. So like, I know they used an example of adding a camera to a light pole that you don't want to have to be pulling category cable to. You just slap one of those LTE gateways out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We even have a light sensor connection, so we can connect to the light sensor for power for the gateway module.
Oh, cool. And that won't like turn it on and off, right? It'll just connect to the power.
It's just a tap to power.
Okay. Nice. That solves that, because that's always the other thing. There's these people that say you can install this camera anywhere, but you can't really because you need power.
Right. There's also a company that does power during the night and charging the batteries into the box.
Yeah.
And then during the daytime, it flips, when the lights go off, it flips it back to battery and it keeps it running. So that's always an option too.
Yeah, I saw at GSX Texas Night. They had a booth of, it was like the whole light pole was a solar panel.
Oh yeah, that's another option too, right?
Power stacks or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That you can literally put anywhere because it generates its own power. And then the only other thing would be, if it's cloudy, you would still want that backup power.
Yeah.
Cool. I know we talked a little bit before this, but you want to talk about ISC West this year?
ISC West, I'll be there. So anybody who would like to come and see the platform, understand what we're doing more in depth, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and show you what we're doing.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on introducing any new technologies at ISC, or is it just telling people what you got already?
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about Verkada is that we don't even know about new products until maybe a couple days before it gets released, which is a lot different than a lot of other manufacturers in our industry, where those manufacturers are doing pre-sales and they're, you know, I won't say selling vaporware, but you know how that goes, right? They're like, this is the greatest and newest thing that we're doing, and then they'll, 2 months later they'll pivot a different direction.
Mm.
Verkada is very much not like that. So what you see is, and what we talk about is what you have available right now.
What's one thing that when you came onto Verkada that you didn't know that they had, or that you thought was cooler than it seemed?
I did not know. I knew that they had video analytics. I mean, that was, pretty much a known fact. What I didn't know is that they have real English language searching. So if you put in the search window, instead of picking like the person in the blue top and the black pants, and then letting it search for that, and it'll get an algorithm hit on all of the video clips during that time frame that you put in, you can put in a search in something like, show me the Tesla Y that is white and has a luggage rack. And you can type it just like that and enter it in, and it'll pull back all the Tesla Ys, white Tesla Ys with a luggage rack. Or show me the man in a Hawaiian shirt. And it'll pop up all the people that have patterned shirts that are more like a Hawaiian shirt. So it's real language, which is way different and a lot easier for people to search for what they're really looking for.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is that using some kind of proprietary backup, like language, or excuse me, is it being taught the language, or is it using an AI platform to kind of generate, that logic?
It's using an AI platform, as far as I know.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I mean, I think
cool.
it's all internal to Verkada, but yeah, it's really amazing in my opinion.
Sweet. I think that we're out of topics, but I did want to talk about the one thing that you posted a couple weeks ago about your stint with Discovery Channel. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So when I was with the LiDAR company here, just the shoot was about 6 months ago. Actually, at the last ISC West, I ran into a producer for the Discovery Channel, and he asked me if I wanted to go on the Discovery Channel and bring the technology out in the field. And I'm like, absolutely, why not? And so I had to ask him, well, what's the show? And he was like, it's Expedition Bigfoot. So if you watch Expedition Bigfoot basically from the beginning, every show, every segment has new technology. So they're always looking at bringing technology into the field and utilizing that as part of the showcase. So it was fun to be able to, we went out on set. We had the whole filming crew there. We spent the whole day with them, and then part of the night up until about 2:00 in the morning, we set up LiDARs. We set up a FLIR pan tilt zoom camera, and connected it all together. And we were tracking things that were in the forest. So we were doing the protection of the base camp for them.
Wow.
So it was very cool. It's season 6, episode 3. So if you just go to the Discovery Plus channel and look for Expedition Bigfoot, I'll be there.
That's awesome. That's a cool story. You don't get to hear that very often or experience that. Do you think now that you're with Verkada, you can reach back out to them and say, hey, let's set up some cameras, and then we can do a search that says find the hairy beast, and then
the hairy beast. Well, they might pull you up though.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, you never know. We'll have to see.
That'd be funny.
But it was a fun experience. It was very unique, and I was very happy to do it.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have for today. I appreciate everybody who's here live, everybody who asked questions in the chat. Thank you so much. Don't forget, we do this. We're actually changing it from Thursdays. We're going to start doing it from now on Tuesdays from 4 to 5. My son's baseball schedule came out, and of course, has to be on Thursdays. And so I had to move it. But we're here every Tuesday from 4 to 5 with a new guest every time. And if you're listening to this and you're not on Deadbolt Society, make sure you get on. It's a live. It's a free community for security professionals, and we're just trying to build something that we can all collaborate together. Thank you so much, Chad, for joining. Obviously they can just search you on LinkedIn, but where else can they find you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. You can find me at mrcctvfail.com, and I'm on Reddit as Mr. CCTV Fail. So.
And he's on Deadbolt Society.
And I'm on Deadbolt Society right here.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.